Footy and Frothies, Barney and Daggy back with you in virtual form for this week, getting through the midweek break between the first couple of games and the rest of round one. But at least we've got some rugby league to talk about. We've got some very interesting team announcements for a couple of sides, I would suggest. But more importantly, how are you, David?
Yeah, very well, actually.
That's good to hear.
Which is nice to say. Yourself?
I'm very well too. Slowly getting used to this whole working caper, but going so far, so good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
how's it dragging yourself out of bed in the morning?
Not very good. So I sympathise with you for the last 4 years when I've let you get about 3 hours sleep on some occasions. It has been a rough follow on, especially Monday morning when I had a couple Sunday night. But anyway, we live and learn. You'd think
never ideal.
Yeah, you'd think almost by 40 I've grown up, but no, I haven't.
Never will.
Exactly. So, but no, we sold it on. What do you make of the footy?
It's no fun if you grow up anyway. So
Correct.
Why do that? There was some really good football played. Obviously, the blowout for the Gillaroos wasn't optimal for the viewing in Las Vegas, but looks like a fair few people picked up some good money on some multis in and around
apparently
the
everyone
sports
but me.
betting.
I didn't bet, but
paper.
Yes, it seems everyone that bet on the game collected in some way, shape, or form. So maybe that was their plan all along.
Yeah, I got about, I think it was $14 for the back five, all to score a try. So that wasn't a bad little pick up in the multis. But Raiders were impressive.
Yep.
And both Sharks and Penrith at times were a little scratchy, but also played some very impressive footy. So
absolutely, we'll kick off. I just want to shout out to Ollie, who was supposed to join us, but I think he's about 27 rums short. He was over in Vegas, I assume, shaking every Canberra fan's hand he could find. But he's currently very, very drunk at the Grey Gums, so we'll just leave him be for now. But for those missing his dulcet tones, I assume he'll be back sometime in the next week or three.
I'll try and prize a story out of him, but
yeah.
Journo with not a lot of stories, unfortunately.
No. See what we can come up with when he does return. But it did look great. The spectacle looked good. As you said, probably the women's, and from more reports, the women's game killed the crowd a little bit as well. And they're already revisiting that one. I thought the Super League play was very good to have them kick off an exciting game and get everyone going. And again, from more reports, their supporters added a great deal to the weekend.
Into the bar tab, by the sounds of things.
Absolutely.
But, the atmosphere with the singing around the ground was fantastic. That ground just looks spectacular, doesn't it? The way they can roll that whole pitch in in one crack, and it's just done perfectly. So they obviously know how to put a show on over there.
100%. Well, it kicked off we'll save team news for the team sheet stuff later on, but it kicked off 30-8. The Raiders over the Warriors, who looked very impressive, as you said. Barn, your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so we're going to dull the stats down a little bit going forward this year, but we had 5 tries to 2. So Sebastian Chris with a double, Savage with a double, and Tomoko with the try. 4 out of 5 conversions for Jamal Fogarty, 1 out of 1 penalty attempts, and Joseph Tarpanay got sin binned for that shoulder charge, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point. Warriors 2 tries, 1 to Capewell, 1 to Tuivasa-Sheck, and both conversions were missed. Disappointing from the Warriors. I can't say I didn't expect it. This was basically my tip when we did do our previews at the start of the year, that they might struggle when they do get on the back foot to really find any sort of creative play. And the only bloke who looked likely for big parts of the game was Roger, and that was just one-on-one, being able to sort of push somebody away or maybe make some inroads. The 2 front rowers worked hard enough. They were held pretty comfortably, realistically, by a Canberra pack that was well and truly revved up. That starting pack was well and truly ready to go. They ripped in, made some big hits, and just that constant offload absolutely confused the hell out of the middle defence for the Warriors.
Absolutely. I'll just quickly mention Hoskins 44 tackles, Egan 51 led the tackles. Probably the other notable stat there. 219 runs for young Savelio Tamale, who looked a likely type as well. I don't actually. You've gone on record as tipping them for the spoon. The Warriors they were just poor. And I just think their team makeup doesn't make a lot of sense when you see them in action. And, well, first of all, I'll just say, do we finally just, and we've said it the last couple of years with this pre-season challenge, does all trial form just get penned now? It just,
Well, it looks
nothing
like it, because
counts
the Warriors
until...
looked like a fantastic attacking side when they were able to play touch footy in the back of those trial
Yeah,
matches.
so it's low contact. Yeah, Melbourne had no interest in being there last week, really. It's low contact, low intensity, and we just perhaps don't, well, people have to analyse something, but don't read too much into it. At times,
Yeah, unless you see a team really being put under defensive pressure in a trial, you can probably just pen it and move on, realistically.
What do you make of this halves combination in combination with the forward pack? I feel like the Warriors just aren't a mobile side, and you've got two running halves and not a lot of pace out wide. They're going to just struggle to get into...
Yeah, it did seem a little bit slow in the middle of the field. Barnett probably the best out of their middles on the day. And when Egan was able to get out off the back of a decent speed, play the ball, did look like they could cause some inroads through the middle of the field. But their second rowers they weren't even running lines realistically. They were just sort of jogging through on that straight off the hip of the halves. And the halves realistically did nothing from this Warriors side. It was either shovel the ball straight out to the wing, just constant catch and pass, or just a short ball on the hip for one of those back rowers that weren't really running a productive line. So,
and no Tamari Martin in this game, and Tanner Boyd in the wings. Maybe the safer option is try and at least get a kicking game out of Boyd until this team finds somewhat more going forward.
Yeah, well, they had a couple of little short kicks that were productive, but most of their kicks to the wings and their long kicking game, left a fair bit to be desired. So I don't know if Martin really adds that much more to it when he comes in, though, to be honest. So,
well, Warriors look good, big, strong, aggressive, young, and fast, and obviously we were probably somewhat critical of their hopes coming this year. But if they perform like this, they're going to be in most games at least, and. Plenty carried injuries. Horsburgh came back and did what he had to do at periods in this game now. They're set up to be okay here, aren't they, Canberra?
Looks that way. They definitely came in with the game plan with the offload in the middle of the field. I think they had something like 16-2 or something in that first half. It was something ridiculous like that. And just the way they were able to promote that second phase play, and Starling was very good off the back of it. He was able to, skirt around the tackle that was in motion and come out the other side a lot of times and dragging other players with him. So
it's been a couple of seasons since he's been able to do that. Really, it hasn't been their MO last year to let him run.
He's been used as their second stringer for quite a few years now, where he probably should have been given this opportunity as their starter earlier than what they've given it to him. Looks like he's put a little bit of size on too, which probably helps. Being able to cope with that little bit of physicality in the middle there.
And he's had a rough couple of years as well, just off the field.
Absolutely.
So being able to put that behind him can't possibly hurt.
Papali'i and Horsburgh were massive in the middle of the field. So was Tapane, which obviously they'll miss now. I think it's 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Was it he was given?
I assume he's taken that.
That'll hurt him a little bit. You mentioned Tamale. He looked like a real prospect out there on the wings. I think he's an ex-rugby boy, but real strong, some good pace and footwork out there. And that's something they do have a lot of out there. Like, they're not the quickest blokes in the world, apart from obviously the X-Man is lightning when he gets up and going. But the likes of Chris and Tomoko, they're fast enough, and they're big and mobile fellas that are able to, take the contact and take players with them in attack. So,
well, their backline's got at least 3 tackle busters, and then you throw in Tapane, Young and Horsburgh, it just opens up that bit of second phase.
And Weeks didn't really get all that involved in this game either. So if they can create opportunities for him, that's another upside in their attack. So.
And having Fogarty, who they did miss for large chunks last year as well. So
brilliant kicking game. He's probably close to the kicking game of the weekend, realistically. Just the amount of consistency out of it, being able to constantly drop the ball in the corners where he wanted it to go.
It's really interesting because there'd been some talk about him being on the nose down there, and you'd think like someone like Newcastle would give their left nut for a player like Fogarty at the moment, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I'm not sure where those rumours come from, to be honest.
I think they've been dispelled since.
Yes,
but
they would. Yeah, I haven't seen anything sort of go against him. You know, he's had his little share of injury last year, but he's always performed for Canberra since he's been there.
I think it was more to do with a contract
Maybe
negotiation kink or
trying to,
something.
yeah, and they bought the young fella from Parramatta, didn't they? So I suppose that would start a few rumblings. But he's towards the back end of his career, but he's still probably close to the best kicking game in the comp.
Absolutely. And then throw in an 85% kicker on top of him, and not a bad package. Do we take anything else out of this game? Apart from, look, Canberra looked great. We've got to see another 13 teams first, but much else?
You want to see somebody throw a bit more attack at the Raiders because, the Warriors were very pedestrian. They need a massive bounce back, the Warriors. Otherwise, it looks like it's going to be a very long season for those guys.
I think I'm going back to the old Gump rule from 3 years ago, and until I see something, I'm not going to tip them, and I'll just cop it on the chin until if they beat me, which they will. 1 week they'll knock over someone.
Of course they will. Yeah.
Bash someone out of a game, but I can't see it happening quickly on this turnaround. We need to bring back the Daggy M, do we? I hope Greg's listening.
Yes.
Who have you got in mind? I've only just thought of this, but that's what we normally do at this part.
Exactly. I'm exactly the same, to be honest.
Do you want to take a moment and we'll look at the next game?
Yeah,
and come
just
back?
give me a sec. I'll have a quick
that's
run
all right.
through.
While you're doing that, we'll get to the main. Well, obviously we touched on Gillaroos, but the main event was 28-22. Very competitive game by the end. At times it didn't look like it was going to be, but Sharks fought back well. 5 tries to 4 there. And very quickly, Mitch Kenny, 48 tackles. Blake Brayley, 61, led the way there. Edwards, as he does, 218 run metres, 192 for Jesse Ramian. And you've got something for us, Dag M-wise, or you want to put a pin in that? We'll get back to Greg.
Yeah, no, we'll go. I don't think they win the game without the effort from Horsburgh in the middle. I thought he was fantastic. Creating that platform early in the game. Then I would have gone Xavier Savage for the 2. Beautiful intercept and just constant hard work out of the back end, which is something he's not been known for recently. And 500 plus kicking meters and 80% goal kicking, as you said. So I'd have Fogarty for the 1.
Yep, I'm okay with that. Back to the Panthers and Sharks. End up being a very competitive game. What do you make of your boys?
Probably started the better of the 2 teams. Penrith did look a bit ordinary there for the first 15 minutes or so. Big takeaway. Well, let's quickly run through. The stats.
I did that while you were.
Oh, you did.
While you were
5 tries to 4 and all the rest of it.
Yeah, did all that. Just while you were.
Okay, sorry, mate.
While the little mice were running in your head.
Yeah, started extremely well. Took a bit of advantage on the outside edge there with Ramian scoring the first try. Big issue with Cronulla at the moment seems to be when they're not on the front foot. Like, they scored some nice tries, and all of their tries came off the back of them being on the front foot, pushing through the middle, having Penrith, retreating in defence, and then being able to hit either short crash balls or the centres to sort of score over on the edges. Didn't really overly create any sort of change of angles and, break the defence open more so than just having it on the back foot and pushing it to a point where it breaks.
Yeah.
Rather than sort of breaking it open with anything else.
Like Nico did throw a lovely ball for the early try, for the Nico try actually, and Trindle the same later. But
again, a short ball on the back of a retreating defence, and there's someone hitting the line at 1,000,000 miles an hour with only sort of 2 or 3 meters to carry to get over the try line. A lot of their tries were in that sort of 10-meter zone where you didn't see them constantly break Penrith open. But Penrith just, the one thing that they do that they've done for the last 4 years is they exploit weaknesses in the opposition, and they did it again in this game. There's 2 tries that you see where Cleary comes to the middle of the field, folds back around, and they hit that outside edge where Stone Street was. Both of those times, Stone Street made the tackle in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
So they've gone there specifically to target that edge.
Cleary came from right on the other side of the ruck, didn't he? He did the whole run around, yeah.
For the one where he went in untouched.
Yeah.
And then the second time they slid, but they didn't slide early enough to get across there. And just to be able to exploit that weakness with Stone Street, that combination with him and Ramian, that obviously they haven't had a lot of training together, and the way they really got into Ronaldo Mulatalo's head.
Yeah.
Like we've seen it now. It's not a massive issue, as it only happens generally a couple of times during the year, but they really got into his head in this game. They had him question himself under the high ball. They had him just completely off his level, and gave away one of the biggest factors in the game is that penalty he gives away when we've got the ball on our own 5 meter line, and we give it back to Penrith and they go and score.
Yeah.
Like that's at least a 6, maybe a 10-point swing, and even if it's not a point swing, it's a position and possession swing that really shouldn't have gone back to Penrith in that point. And their absolute desperation in defence. I reckon they saved 3 to 4 tries in this game with just one-on-one scramble defence under the post, just next to the post.
And it was the usual
There's
suspects.
at least 2 in I think it was 3 sets of 6.
Yeah.
Sorensen made a tackle on the edge that saved a try. Yo stopped McGuinness, who should have, by all rights, just strolled over underneath the post. And just
Cleary
the commitment.
Cleary had one as well around that time. But yeah.
And that commitment and effort in defence and just consistently turning up. Like the Sharks would strip them for numbers and they'd get to the last pass and there'd be 3 Penrith jerseys there. Yeah. They come from fucking everywhere just to make sure that try's not scored. And that's the difference between the teams that are running 1-2 and winning comps and teams that are running 4th, 5th, 6th and 8th and getting knocked out early in the finals.
Absolutely. They looked fairly sharp. I actually thought the back end they may have tired a little bit. I thought Sharks had actually all the momentum and possibly another 6 or 10 minutes nearly win this game if they had a shade of unlucky. They were a bit unlucky when they didn't check that Mitch Kenny or didn't call Mitch Kenny for the drop ball.
Strip. Yep.
I think if you run,
but they also brought some shit on themselves. They didn't find touch.
Yeah,
they dropped simple balls.
They dropped one cold 20 meters out from the Panthers line. I think Mulatalo dropped one cold coming out of his own end at one point.
They couldn't get that bomb right. Like how many times you saw last year where Mulatalo would be jumping over the fullback or the centre and scoring tries. He couldn't get anywhere near it. The timing just wasn't there. Like obviously these are round 1 issues that should be better come round 4 and 5. But yeah, they were the big parts of why Cronulla weren't able to get away with this game, and they probably should have.
Yeah, they didn't. They got themselves in a position where they could have won this game essentially, and I guess Penrith being Penrith were able to just weather that storm. Was there... Look, the store... We'll finish up on Penrith first quickly, but it was the 3 big guns. I thought they were outstanding. Cleary had the ball on the string when he needed it. Isaiah, just the amount of work he does on both sides of the ball. Like, we're not saying anything groundbreaking that we haven't said for 5 years. And Liam Martin, I thought, was outstanding in a team that didn't have... is missing some work. Some of their renowned workers got through a fair bit as well. I'm just looking at...
the way Yo's able to turn some blokes, because he's a pretty big, lanky fella, and the way he's able to turn the defence inside out on occasions and, cut back on the angle or beat them on the outside, very good for a big man. Liam Martin rattled some blokes in this game, like, absolutely rattled him. He put Kennedy off his game, absolutely belted him at one point. He got stuck into Iro a couple of times when he was trying to make, those... them hit-ups that the centres and wingers make a lot of for the Sharks, and he went out of his way to rattle a few guys in this game, and he got hold of a few of them. The only bloke he didn't really seem to put off his game was Nakora, who seemed to enjoy the battle, and they got stuck into each other a fair bit.
Yeah. But, look, you walk away and go, obviously both teams improve, and Penrith did enough here.
Obviously,
Dylan Edwards
first
did his
game
usual.
of the year,
I thought Edwards...
but they both look like leading contenders.
Absolutely. Edwards... probably pushed a few passes at a couple of occasions, but got through his usual work. Actually felt like Kenny was running a lot more than he used to be, and he ran 48 metres, so maybe that was in my head. And the only other bloke I'll mention is Dane Laurie, who did a great job coming on and having to play on the wing there, and just a bloke capable of creating, just a talented footballer, capable of creating things at certain times when needed.
And didn't seem to... My biggest knock on him is he sort of tried to involve himself too often. He sort of get stuck in that attacking structure and cause a few problems. Whereas, obviously, being on the wing, he's been told, you stick to your lines out on the wing, and he folded in at centre once or twice, but yeah, had a very good game. Alamotti was strong as well.
Well, they'll only benefit from getting their centres back and Bizza back and having Alamonte. Bizza back and having Alamonte back to the centres is going to help a lot there.
100%.
Look, the biggest story, I guess, in the media was Nico's performance. We thought
Lindsay Smith was massive too for Penrith.
He was actually outstanding.
Huge minutes.
Anyone else for
Did
Penrith?
extremely well. No, but just the fact that the rise that kid's had in 12 months to be playing for Australia, you would imagine now he's going to be in and around that around a state of origin squad there somewhere.
Yeah.
And he just took up Fisher's minutes without any issue whatsoever, and just got through the work like it was nothing.
Absolutely. The story, a bit of a twofold one, but Nico we thought would be under pressure this year. Thought it might take longer than one game. Didn't cover himself in. I actually didn't think he had that bad a game by his.
No, he wasn't.
By Nico's
Definitely
standards,
wasn't poor, but could have involved himself a lot more than he did.
But it seems like for whatever reason the media's decided this is the year to just bury the bloke. I've seen people suggest he should be at 14, fullback, this, that, and the other. Is it panic stations? What are we doing with Nico after just 1 week?
Not at all.
I'm not suggesting worry at all, to be honest, but
yeah. Obviously laid on a try. He probably should have. His kicking wasn't the best, but he did lean back and let Trindle take control of this match for big parts of it. There's going to be times when he gets himself a bit more involved, but he's a front foot player. You're never really going to see him own a game off the back foot. And when it gets into that grind and that fight, he generally either just looks for his outside man, or if he sees half a gap, he'll occasionally have a crack at it. And if he doesn't bust those tackles or break the line when he does have those opportunities, he's just going to go in. The rest of what you're going to see is pretty much catch and pass, unless the Sharks are on the front foot and really bending the defence back. So it's been the way he's played for quite a while now. Like even in his Dally M year, there was games where he was very quiet, but there was games where the Sharks blew teams apart, and when they did, he was on the front foot and he was the one causing all the damage. So you're not really going to know until round 6 or 8 when they're starting to try a few different things and trying to sort of mix up that attacking structure, because you're going to see the Sharks grind teams like this most of the year, I would imagine. They're going to play this style of football a lot.
Oh, and look,
they
in
set
fairness,
up to do
I think
it last year, and they're going to try and do it a lot again this year. So, and
they probably beat, without having seen them yet, on last year's form, beat 12 or 14 teams with this performance if they had played someone else other than Penrith in this game.
And then if they do get a team to crack in the last 20, you might see Hines completely shine or Trindle completely shine and look like a superstar. But there's going to be games where it's going to be bashed out and bored out in the second row and the front row, more so than seeing flashy stuff coming through the outside backs. They'll have opportunities to do it, but the biggest thing is they need to get that kicking game locked down properly and have those guys being able to at least compete for the ball, because that's one of Mulatalo's biggest threats, and he was not involved in that at all in this game.
Yeah. Will Kennedy is the extension of that. If Nico moves somewhere, it's probably going to be one. I thought he was actually quite brave at times here.
Put his body on the line, yeah. Started quite well, faded a bit towards the back end of the game.
What was your take?
But it was definitely physical. Got in under most of them. There was probably 2 occasions actually, where he was well and truly out of position when Penrith was scoring. Whether he was,
and that's what's
misled.
been the headline ones. You said there's a photo with him not in the picture or in the 15 metres away from where he probably should have been.
The Yo one, he just sort of falls over the top and flops next to him, and then that short kick, he sort of was nowhere near that little chip over the top where Targo comes across.
Yeah.
Like, I know that's fucking hard to defend. That was like the play of the weekend, but that that little chip over the top, he should have been within arm's length of the ball, you would imagine.
Yeah.
1 or 2 strides away, not fucking 10 metres to the side. But
any big positives for Neil Blake? Good. You get your money's worth there.
Yeah. Obviously gets a lot more involved in attacking situations, but he still did his fair share of work in the middle of the field. Hazelton was a little bit quiet, so there's probably some upside there with
I was
him.
surprised there was never an attempt to sort of have those two together. It felt like
they seemed to play him out wider too.
Yeah,
they seemed to be playing more like a
were
second rower than a front rower.
But we just never really saw that. Them both running at a post each or anything like that the whole game.
Yeah, no, that's right. Which was very surprising, because I thought that would be one of the things that they base a lot of their
Sort of looks
attack
obvious, doesn't
around.
it? At least to us.
And it probably
Yeah.
will, like the coaches aren't going to be giving away their final form anywhere near round one.
Yeah.
So you will see them morph and change, and their attacking structure will change probably in 3 and 4 week blocks. But yeah, it surprised me that he played out as wide as he did. Ramian was brilliant. I thought he had one of his best games, and with the 12 months he had last season as well, he's right back into career best form at the moment by the looks of it. He was fantastic. Stone Street passable, but yeah, a couple of times he got caught out in defence there. Talakai did an okay job coming off the bench. Had a little bit of impact there, running the ball, sort of bumping through tackles and stuff like that. So you can keep using him. McGuinness did a mountain of work, as he always does. Brayley showed glimpses. There was some times when they were on the front foot where he looked very good in attack, but also other times where he didn't look fantastic. Tackled his ass off as always, 50-odd tackles, I think. So, but I think they'll take a lot away from this game. I think both sides will be pretty damn happy with coming away from this one, even without the points. So
Yeah. So you, by no means any panic stations, I would suggest.
100%, no way. If they're 1 and 6, or 1 and 5 after 6 rounds, or something like that, I might change my tune. But yeah, I kind of expected them to probably drop 2 games in the first 6 weeks or so. So
it's going to be very interesting
this
because
would have been one of them.
It's now going to be in the next month. Nico needs to have at least one rubber stamp performance.
Needs to put someone away. Yeah,
the jungle drums will get louder and louder from certain sections of the media. Look, I thought Yo deserved 3, Cleary 2, and Martin 1. So it was fairly straightforward, but
can't
take
go
your
past
pick.
that.
Happy days. We got to now talk about the rest of the round. Obviously disrupted on with the cyclone going through Queensland. So thoughts with everyone up there dealing with what they're about to deal with. It's meant the Dolphins' South games come down to Combank. We'll get to that. So, as I said, just thoughts with all the families of everyone, not just footballers, but everyone in Queensland. All the best.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to affect a fair stretch of the coast up there. So
there's going to be some weeks of issues falling out of it. But we'll just talk the footy for now, and we kick off the Roosters and Broncos at Allianz on Thursday night. The Chooks come into the new season. Tedesco, Tupou, Noah Takanese does get the nearly added an extra. What are they called? Man, I'm tired. Thing to the end of his name. Robert Toa gets his first grade debut in 4. Dom Young, Sandon Smith, and Townsend the halves. Collins, Watson, White, Crichton, Radley stays on edge. Nat Butcher comes into 13. Docker Clay 14. Sia Wong, Blake Steep, and Celesi Foketi make up the bench. For the Broncos, Walsh, Cobbo, Mariner, Shibasaki at centre with the injury, with no Stags at the moment. Jesse Arthurs, Ben Hunt, and Reynolds the halves. Carrigan, Pakes, Haas, Gazowski, Ricky, Hetherington the back row. Walters starts on the bench. Jensen Willison at Piakura. So for the super coaches out there, no Ben Takura. A couple of the cheapies didn't make the cut. Interesting side. They've also come out and said that they're going to, I think, try and get most of the players' families that they can get out of Brisbane down into Sydney as soon as they can. So at least for Brisbane. So, yeah, that's a side piece to this. But what are we doing to kick off the Australian NRL in 2025?
Yeah, just obviously we were talking before about pen and trial form, but the defensive structures I saw out of the Roosters in both of their games that they played really worries me about how they're going to defend in the outside backs. So if the Broncos are able to pressure them for more than 50 to 60 minutes, I can see Brisbane winning pretty comfortably. I'm not sure I'd go to stretch to say 13 plus, just because the forward pack from the Roosters is good enough to match this Brisbane forward pack for big parts of this game. So that will keep them competitive for large parts. And you do have some strike in the likes of Watson, Tedesco, Sandon Smith maybe might be able to promote something and create something. But I think they'll obviously be relying on Connor Watson and James Tedesco for their spark in attack. I can see them maybe scoring a couple of tries just to be able to keep it to 1-12. But I'm definitely going to stick with Brisbane to win this match 1-12. Go man of the match. I think Ben Hunt will have a big say in this game. I would not be surprised if you see him setting up 2 or 3 tries off his own bat. So I'll go with him man of the match, and we'll go with Jesse Arthurs to score the first try.
Oh, yeah, Brisbane easy to like here. I think they're going to be wound up. They have looked fitter in the trials than we've seen them earlier at similar times in the last couple of years. I think Madge has made a point of that. And I think that this could well be that they're intent on making a statement in round 1. I'm going to go 13 plus. Look, when you do line up the relative back rows and locks, it's there's a ways to go, but I'm going to say Carrigan and Haas just probably end up both playing close to 70 minutes each and do all the work anyway, and the mobile ones work around them. Ben Hunt's going to be a great asset here for Reece Walsh, and it's been a long time since we've got to rave about Reece Walsh. I think maybe tiring players, 2 very good kicking games, starting to open up. Walsh gets a double. Going to go with him for man of the match with all the flash that we would desire from him. I need to find a first try. Let's go the daily double. First try Walsh and man of the match Walsh as well. Tigers and Knights, the Friday night game at Campbelltown, 6 p.m. kickoff. For the home side, Heath Mason, no Jareen Buller. Heath Mason at 1. Taruva and Skelton on the wings. Dewey and Fatape in the centres. Galvin, Luai, captain, making his debut at 7. Terrell May, Talon De Silva, Pole, Fainu, Seyfarth, Twile. The bench is Tristan Hope, Royce Hunt, Jack Bird and Sione Fainu. Nice bit of depth there. For the Knights, Ponga, Schiller, Gagai, Best, Marzu, Sharp at 6, Cogger, Saifidi, Crossland, Thompson, Lucas, Kai Pearce-Paul, Tyson Frizzell. The bench is Jaden Brayley, the now apparently out of favour, I suggested here. Hetherington Jones and Croker, 2 very good bodies coming off there. What are we doing, Barn? Because this Tigers team left me a little bit nervous more than anything else heading this game.
I have really no idea, to be honest. I can see this game swinging back and forth in 10 and 15-minute increments of just points being scored by one team for 10 or 15 minutes and then swinging around and the other possession swings the other way and some points come on the other side as well. I've got a feeling that the Tigers might have a slight edge here in the forwards, especially when they do get into this rotation. Guys that might be a little bit stronger for a little bit longer. But I'm concerned with the defence on the edges here for the Tigers.
Absolutely.
When you line them up with the likes of Gagai, Best, defending in the centres to Fatape and Dewey, I think this might be a shootout with the Knights getting away with 1 or 2 extra tries than what you see coming out of the Tigers. So.
I agree, and I'm going... that was the first... It just stood out to me like a sore thumb. And as a Tigers fan who has seen good centres, including these ones, terrorise us at times, I'm just scared of, Bradman Best walking away with a hat-trick or something and just owning.
If Mason
an
gets
edge.
caught out a couple of times at fullback, that could only add to
and they're not huge. Obviously, Skelton's going to be doing a bit of the bullying, but they're not a big defensive backline. So I'm going with the Knights 1-12. I think this will be a game, as you said, it's a seesaw. I think there'll be enough where it won't be panic stations for the Tigers and the forwards to do plenty of work and keep in the game. But I just think at key times there's just more strike right now compared to what they're up against for the Knights. If Appy and Buller were playing, I might almost flip that around. But that's where I'm going. Bradman Best first try, and I think those centres are the key. So, again, I might double down and go with him man of the match as well. Really looking forward to seeing how Luai controls the show. The other point is that this, apart from Luai, the rest of this spine is all 19 years old.
Correct.
So there's, it's still a work in progress.
And the direction and attack might suffer at times just due to some of that. But,
exactly. But they're on the right track with their forward pack. I think that looks fairly solid once we throw Appy and a few other older heads in there.
I'm going to go Gay Guy first try. I loved what I saw out of him last season, and in the trials he looked amazing too at times with some of that footwork. And for a bloke who's getting on, he doesn't seem to have lost a huge amount of speed either.
No.
So if he can get on the outside of, I think he'd be matching up against Fatape here. If he can turn him inside out a couple of times, you might see him jag a double, and I'll go with him first try scorer. The man who's going to be throwing that last pass will generally be Ponga, I would imagine. So I would suggest he would be the man of the match. The only other person I'd be looking at is maybe Phoenix Crossan. We saw him be very destructive in attack 12 months ago when he was starting, when Brayley was out with his long-term injury. So I can see him having a very good game as well. But we'll go Ponga, man of the match. Gay Guy first try scorer, and the Knights 1-12.
The main event is the Rabbitohs and Dolphins from Combank for the Bunnies. And I won't read team lists every week, but given it's round one, I'm just running through and obviously jump in if anything catches your eye, Barn, even from a Supercoach point of view. Jai Gray, Isaiah Tass, Whiten and Campbell Graham will make his return. Munro on the wing. Cody Walker and Jamie Humphries in the halves. Kepi, Malmazelos, Moale, Kolomatangi, Arrow and Lachlan Huber gets Cam Murray spot at 13. Jaden Sullivan, 14. Havili, Duncan, Totola, the bench. The hammer is at 1 for the Dolphins. Azarko, Avarillo, Farnsworth, Junior Tupou, club debut there with the injury to Bostock. Nikarima Katoa, Saifidi, Marshall King, Kafusi, Finafuiaki, Max Plath on the edge, Tom Gilbert, captains aside, Donahue, Lemuelu, Mark Nichols and Ray Stone. The other fly in the ointment apart from the Cyclone is potentially there. Peter Bedell has this evening suggested a few of these players won't be travelling and want to stay with their families, which is understandable. So if that really shakes up, we could see this postponed. From what I hear, Channel 9 don't want that. So at some point, this could end up being the worst NRL game of the year should this be reserve grade versus reserve grade, but we'll see how that plays out. Barn, have you got any thoughts?
Correct. Yeah, well, obviously that throws a completely different look to this game if 5 or 6 of these guys don't travel down. Completely shift the makeup of this team. Campbell Graham back's massive for the Rabbitohs. They were falling apart, getting picked to pieces in the centres, in defence, in their trial matches, and I think him and Whiten obviously had a steadier
could
hand
argue
there
the
with
best defensive centres in the comp.
Correct. Yeah. So if they can tighten some things up there, then that should go a long way to them being a little more competitive. I've just got huge question marks around what they're going to be able to provide in attack, realistically. Mambazulos yet to really be exposed, but what we have seen, generally not super creative, plenty of work and, a decent little bit for turn of foot out of dummy half, but hasn't been someone that's stripped attacks. Hubner coming in at lock he'll be in 90% of Supercoach teams, I would imagine, bottom dollar starting lock, but whether he stays in that position or what happens, plays out there is going to be interesting for Supercoaches. Arrow's a big one for them. Arrow and Kulamattangi have to have massive matches to keep this close if these two teams line up the way that the team sheets are. Otherwise, I could see the Dolphins really putting on a score in this game. If they can get a good foothold in the forwards, there's some X factor in the likes of Asako, Farnworth, Hammer in the back line there that can really just create tries out of nothing. So as it sits, I would be going the Dolphins 13 plus. I think Sean O'Sullivan should have a really good game in this one. Katoa, if Katoa can manage the game and get them into
It'd be
position,
quite the effort from number 20.
He'd be playing. He's playing 6 though, isn't he? He's been moved into the 6.
Oh, has he today? I've only seen.
On NRL, he's been named at 5'8" in the 20.
Okay, sorry, I apologize.
Yeah,
I've only read off the initial team list.
No. I'm looking at NRL.com now, and he's been named at 5'8". So
okay,
if he starts in at 5'8", he'd be the man that I would imagine would be throwing the last pass.
You are correct.
A lot of points.
Well, given it was Cody's missus that wasn't happy, I assume he's one of the ones that's come out.
Yeah,
sorry, this is just updated. So you're right. No Nikarima.
Yeah, he's not in this team.
And all, so. Number 18, number 16 has come out, who would have been. Not sure because I just refreshed my page. Whoever I said 5 minutes ago. So
Yeah,
the two
South
changes
haven't
so
filled
far,
me with
Josh.
any confidence.
Yeah,
With
I
what they can
apologise.
do in attack, and I don't think they have enough points in them to challenge the Dolphins at the moment. I expect Souths will warm up and be a bit better moving on down the track, but yeah, Trell coming out and Murray coming out just before the season starts is a massive hammer blow for this side. They would need to be massive. They would need to confidently win the battle in the middle of the field to be even close in this game, I would imagine. So yeah, Sullivan, man of the match, Dolphins 13 plus, and I'll go with Avarillo to score the first try.
Yeah, as it stands right now, I'd agree with you. I just think it's a long way back for Souths. Very interesting clash, as we said, the defensive centres there, because Averillo and Farnworth are major points of attack. Let's go with Hammer to open the scoring. Hopefully, it's a length of the field. Goodbye, and to light us up. And man of the match, Max Plath. What a guy! I'm really looking forward to seeing Tom Gilbert step out, who
Yes.
I've pinned my flag to this year. 1 to 12, just for the sake of margins. 1 to 12 at this stage. 5:30 on Saturday night, we get the game from Jubilee, Dragons hosting the Bulldogs, and what promises to be interesting. Gutho is the fullback and co-captain for the Dragons. Fane and Tuapalutu are the wingers, Sully and Holmes in the centres, Flanagan and Ilias the halves, Couchman, Cook, Gula, Leilua, Sewer, DeBellin the forward pack. Little comes in at 14, Ryan Couchman off the bench, Fatala Mariner 16, and Hamish Stewart the other bench forward for the Dogs. Looks all pretty familiar. No Carraz, unfortunately, but Tracy, Wilson, Sherry, Crichton, Montoya, Burton, Sexton, King, Marnie, Hughes, Kickow, Preston, Mann, Bailey Hayward, 14, Tupanua, club debut from 15, Harry Hayes and Jamin Salmon. I think this might be one of the games of the round because I think Dragons will be revved up to go early in the year. And we'll just see how these combinations start clicking together. They're going to probably attack through the middle there through your Cooks and co, and before Gutho start spreading the ball out right and left. But I'm going to go with a 6-point game. Let's say Bulldogs get home in a close one in what should be a very good game. But I think the settled nature of the Bulldogs side, now they've had a couple of blowouts, should suit. Man of the match, well, probably Matt Burton, because that's the way it'll go. I think, hoping, because he's got he's going to have a big target on his back this year. He's going to be hustled and bustled and gotten to in attack. So let's see if he can set a tone early. First try scorer, Bronson Cherry. Second up from his break, or second year up from his break, I think he's in for a breakout year, Barn. If last year wasn't.
Yeah, it's interesting here. The Dragons obviously attack looks a million miles better than it did this time last year. They just seem to have a hell of a lot more attacking options in different positions on the field. Last year it was basically a Ben Hunt kick or a show and a go and drag someone with him, or it was a DeBellin or Sewer doing a little bit of work through the middle and maybe an offload, whereas now there's just a whole heap more sort of mobility in the back line, a bit more passing continuity, obviously with the fullback and centres coming into this team. I think the mobility from the Bulldogs forward pack gets them away with this one. The ability to be able to continually scramble, probably just outwork this forward pack from the Dragons for that little bit longer. I'm not saying they're going to physically dominate them, but I think just being able to constantly scramble and work together to create opportunities in attack and just that constant cover style defense that they've employed for the last 12 months should be enough to maybe shut down a few of those attacking options for the Dragons. The kicking game for mine is much better and consistent out of the likes of Burton and Sexton than what you'll probably see out of Flanagan and Ilias for the majority of the game. Don't get me wrong, they'll put in some nice kicks, but I just think Burton's long kicking game and Sexton's, sort of short kicking game at the line will be consistently better than what you'll see out of the Dragons. So, yeah, I'm with you. 6-point game. I think it'll be very close towards the back end of the game. I'm going to go with Jacob Preston, man of the match. I think they really missed him for big parts.
I was just about to say,
year.
I can see that this can be one of those games where 5 minutes before half time, the Dragons forwards are out on their feet and like a Tupanua step, steps and beats a tired forward and offloads, or Preston jumps on a grubber, behind the line, someone not
kick
turning
our
around. Yeah,
belts, two of them, and
yeah.
runs
Just
over
I can
top
see
of them,
that sort of
something
thing
like that.
happening against some tired forwards just before half time, and that might be the difference.
And Preston does have an offload and a short pass in him too. So off the back of him probably scoring one and maybe setting one up for someone else, I'm going to go with him man of the match. I'll go with Zeri, first try scorer. I've gone very centre heavy this year, but this round, but I just really like what I've seen out of some of these guys and their ability to stand up their defender one-on-one. So if they can get them into those types of positions to be able to do that. Bronson Zeri, first try scorer, Preston man of the match, and Bulldogs 1-12.
7:35 comes from Four Pines Park, where we see Manly in action against the Cowboys. Actually, it should be a cracker. This will be a very good Saturday night. Turbo is at 1. Saab and Hopewade in the wings. Cooler, Garrick in the centres. Brooks and Cherry Evans, the halves. Paseka, Tavanga, Takiaho, Olakawatu, Ben Travojevic, Jake Travojevic, the forwards. Simkin, Waddell, Bullymore and Sipley on the bench. Cowboys, Drinkwater, Burns, Purdue, Vilea, the centres, Tuolangi, the other wing, Dearden and Duffy, McLean, Robson, McIntyre, Bateman, Nanai, Cotter, Carl Lawton on the bench with Harrison Edwards, Griffin Neem, and old mate Cohen Hess at 17. Very interesting, very well matched up sides that play probably 100%. A similar style, really thinking about this. What are you doing, Barn?
It's a little confusing. Cowboys have found a good one, I think, in Thomas Duffy. So if he can hold his nerve and get through his work here and add an extra point of attack for Dearden, that should make the Cowboys, even what they finished 5th last year, they should be up to that sort of level again. Little bit of few question marks in and around the forward pack. Obviously, McLean's another year older. McIntyre's a bit hit and miss, but Nanai and Cotter are brilliant through and through. So line them up against the likes of Olakawatu and Jake. That's a pretty fair matchup, I would imagine. Jazz Tavanga at 9 is interesting. I probably prefer him in the 13 role or off the bench, but I think what's his name? Lachlan Croker's not in there at the moment, so he's not playing 9. So
Simkin will spend a lot of time at 9, I think, and Tavanga might
go back to that
probably
small
fall into
position.
the rotation once Paseka and co start moving around.
I just like there's a little bit more size and pace for mine in the outside backs for this Manly side. Drinkwater and Trebojevic are going to cause headaches for their opposition many, many times during this game, pop up and just either create tries or score them themselves. So they sort of maybe cancel each other out a little bit. Obviously a slight edge to Tom Trebojevic in that one. But, the likes of Cooler, Garrick, Saab and Hopewade, I think probably take the points decision over this back line for the Cowboys. So for mine, that gets them home by probably close to 10 to 12 points. Sea Eagles 1-12. Man of the match, it's always Tom or DCE. It's got to be one of them. And I think if the back lines are the ones that are going to be causing problems here, it's probably going to be Tom.
I was just imagining DCE taking his dinner suit out tonight to air it out for Saturday.
Come on, Tommy, come with me. I'll just kick you around and you can create the points. Yeah, Tom Trebojevic, man of the match. And let's go with him first try scorer as well.
Yeah, I'm going a home advantage. I think it's going to be a very interesting game. I think it might be a bit of a grind for a bit just because these forward packs won't quite know how
to 20-30 minutes.
How to feel each other out properly, really. Kicking, right now I'm giving a kicking advantage to Manly until we really get to see Duffy under first grade pressure. Mm-hmm. Drinkwater will be heavily involved, but I'm going to go 1-12 Manly. First try Sabra and man of the match. Well, you've gone 1, so I'll go DCE. Flip the difference.
Done.
And we will wrap up with the shock of the weekend. We'll get to that with Parramatta, but the Storm hosting them at Amy Park. Pappy's back. He's sweet to go. All the rumours of his demise were greatly exaggerated, according to him on his podcast. Will Warbrick, Jack Howarth, Nick Meaney, Xavier Coates, Munster and Hughes the halves. Stefano starts at 8. Grant, King, Blore, Katoa, Leero, Wishart, McDonald, Kamakamika and Valupu on the bench. For Parramatta, Isaiah Yongi, Sean Russell, Will Penasini, Zach Lomax does start at centre. Jake Tungo has the Foxes position. Pardon me for now. Dylan Brown. Ronald Volkman at 7 because Mitch Moses is out indefinitely. And it sounds, whenever you hear indefinitely, it's somewhat concerning. It sounds like that that's what it means from what I've heard. They
Normally
don't know.
means at least a month,
Yeah.
probably 2.
And that
then who
really
knows?
changes the complexion of this Parramatta side, obviously. But just in general, anyway, Joe Offering Galway, Brendan Hand starts at 9, Paulo, Williams and Tuolangi's in the back row, and Hopgood locks the scrum. Riley Smith, former Penrith junior, debuts at 14, Dory, Madison, and Geimer. No Moses, really changes the complexion with now a rookie one, a 25 game 9, and a debutant on also 9 on the bench, and Ronald Volkman coming back off having his arms reattached the last couple of years is a bit of a
Did you
concern.
see him in the trial? Fuck, he looks sharp in the trial.
Yeah, no, he's always been a half decent player. I just think injuries. It was the
Very
whole
good.
reason I think injuries and not declaring injuries have been the concern for him rather than anything else. But he had some very good games at. Remember a couple of years ago when he turned up on the scene, he had a couple of games at the Warriors.
Oh yeah, he looked like a superstar in the first year he was there,
Mm.
and then injuries and ins and out. They're constantly in and out of the side through injury, and every sort of second or third game though, he sort of did stamp himself as a very handy first grade halfback. So he's always had a pretty decent kicking game, which is what they're going to need out of him in this one. But look at the fucking size of this pack, and there's no Nelson in there.
Yeah, I know.
It's Stefano at 8. You got Tui Kamakamika and Lazarus Valupu coming off the fucking bench. Jesus Christ. Katoa and Bloor in the back row.
Yeah.
Josh King's not a small boy. Like, good luck trying to stop that pack if they get on a roll through the middle. Like,
And then
I know
throw,
Parra's got a little bit of size.
Then
but
throw Warbrick and Howarth, bringing the ball back as well.
And then, the absolute pace out there with Pappenhausen, Munster and Hughes could do anything. This could be an absolute gap job. Like, I know you got Lomax and Brown in there. And Yongi's had a few nice class touches in the trials. But if Melbourne Storm get on the front foot and with more than sort of 2 tries in the lead in the first 20 minutes, I would expect them to go on and really put Parramatta to the sword in this game. So, yet to have really even looked like piquing their interest at all during a trial match. So you would expect them to. They don't lose the first round, do they? They haven't lost for 16, 17 years or something. Yeah. Ridiculous thing. So, I really expect them to get on a roll. I've had some worries about Parramatta's forward pack before the ball was kicked this year. Jack Williams looks like a good addition, and Hopgood obviously being out for so long with injury last year is also an addition. But likes of Tuolangi could have and Paulo Offahengawi could have their backside hanging out after 40 minutes of this game. And then you're throwing in the likes of Dory, Geimer and Smith trying to take up the slack either side of half time. I'm going Melbourne to win comfortably. Melbourne 18, 20 plus. Man of the match, we'll go with Munster. He's yet to he hasn't had a game-breaking, addition to. He hasn't had a game-breaking 80 minutes for probably 12 to 18 months. So watch him come out and absolutely tear this Parramatta team apart. Munster man of the match. Storm 20 plus, first try scorer. We'll go with Howarth in the edge.
Yeah, 20 plus. What am I going to say? You've said it all. I am now reassessing all Parramatta-related life choices I've made in the in the last few weeks.
I think Lomax might in about 6 weeks as well.
Yeah, I know. Just because I love the bloke, happy first try. And the only other I'll mention is give him man of the match too. Why not? And I'm going to say the other play for the night, Tyron Wishart will score a try. You watch him. As soon as you said, yeah, that's right, their props will be having their asses hanging out. He'll come on in the 30th minute. And
what would they give to have Wishart and Brown as their halves combo Parramatta right now?
Absolutely. As would some other teams. But, yeah, nothing more to add. Looking forward to seeing a proper Melbourne gap job. All that being said, we'll save the bets and stuff, unless you've got one off the top of your head maybe for next week, because I haven't given any form.
We'll put up a post. Let's get together and we'll put a post up tomorrow.
We can do that. I'll have a look through. Is there any late Supercoach thoughts you've ingested since We've talked about it for the last few weeks. Now teams are out. You've seen the cheapies. Sharon, you've gone and had to snaffle up. Are you reassessing Yongi? Like, is he going to make that much money getting done by 50 here?
Oh, he only has to put on 25 points a game, and generally, if you're playing more than 40 minutes of footy, you're going to score 20. So, unless you're Metcalf on the weekend, but
There was Metcalf on the weekend.
all he has to do is score 1 or 2 tries every second game, and he'll still make money. And there's really, you need probably 1 in every position, maybe 2 in obviously the positions that you've got 4 and 5 players of guys that are just there to make money, or even as a placeholder realistically at the start of the season. But obviously you want to try and make as much money as you can early.
Yeah.
Oh, Duffy speaks for himself. Hubner's going to be in a whole heap of teams. I wouldn't be surprised if Task gets a go in quite a few teams. Whether Souths are going to be able to get him into position enough, but at 230,000, he probably doesn't need to do a lot to make money. Toya will be in a whole heap of teams. All these bottom dollar guys that are getting a start will be snaffled up straight away.
Purge, you look the goods as well. I liked him.
Yeah, he does. Got some pace and some footwork. Let's just open up my team quickly. There's a couple of guys that I've tried to go a little bit pottish, as you tend to do. Your team's a bit more mainstream than it has been.
Yeah, I feel dirty about. I've changed a couple now, but
Corey Pakes will be massive, I would imagine. Starting hooker for Brisbane, $230,000. He'll be in a whole heap of teams. I tried to set and forget a few of them in back rows, like Olakawato and Yeo are probably my 2 big go-tos. I've spent a big chunk of cash on those 2 guys, but I hope not to be trading them for the season, realistically.
Well, I've actually started Tino just for the sake, because like it's 2 trades if I don't, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So I'm just got him on bench front row at the moment because I can. And I've half thought about doing the same with Beau Fermor, but I might wait a few weeks on him till I get some money out of some cheapies.
Yeah, I want to try and look at him as well. Jesse Arthurs looks like he's a set and forget now at pretty low price.
Yep.
Starting winger for the Brisbane side, who will probably have some games where they rack up a whole heap of points. So all your big guns, that's as you like to say, anything over about 500,000, pick your own poison, and you're just trying to do your best on who you're gonna snaffle in those positions to pick up. But Gilbert for mine's undervalued, obviously, with the season injury, or 2 seasons out with injury, and someone that you could probably look at. The Couchman brothers look like they're probably set to play a big chunk of footy for St George side as well. So they're both definitely someone that you should be looking at.
Absolutely. I don't have much to add. I'm leaning towards being a bit more Dragons heavy than I thought. I'm going to back Cook and Gutho early on. I think Gutho makes money, unless they come out and really suck. But my late thoughts, I might even flip a Yongi and try and play 3 gun fullbacks. But
Lomax is starting to worry me too, because even with kicking, if they're not scoring tries,
exactly. Sure. And I can't help but feel that a big part of their preseason will be Moses bombing to Lomax.
You would think so.
So that plan's a little bit different.
Still have another bloke kick it over there.
Yeah.
But whether it's as effective is a different story.
And Jack Bird not getting a start has set me a bit cold there. I think he'll still do a good job, but Twile's going to play 50 minutes if he's starting.
He'd still get 30 to 40 minutes.
Yeah.
That's probably a little bit overpriced for that role.
Yeah, exactly.
There's this year's very interesting, actually. There's a whole heap of mid-ranges that they're going to be the difference on how well you go.
Yeah.
Those guys in the 300 to 500 range are going to, if they don't start well, they could really put you on the back foot to start the year. So.
Absolutely. So we'll talk about all of it next week. Anything got you frothing?
I really like the Dogs-Dragons game. I think that's going to be close to the game of the round.
Both Saturday games are going to be crackers.
Yeah. Saturday is probably the go-to day. Friday will be interesting. I think there'll be some points on Friday. You're going to see some attacking football, but I think the real, grindy football, some really expansive, some really good setup in attack will be those 2 games on the Saturday. So Saturday would be the day that's got me going. I
agree. I'm looking forward to. Well, you did mention that, but I'm looking forward to seeing how the Sea Eagles and Cowboys line up, because I think they're going to be playing off for that third, fourth, fifth spot. So that is interesting. Hey, if you're free, we might even watch them, Barn. See what we can do. But
Absolutely. Friday or Saturday, one of the
got
two.
me a bit excited there. But anyway, apart from that, it's been footy and frothies. Thanks for sticking around. We now have all audio back across Spotify and Apple Music, so you can hear the full 5-hour season preview in all its glory right now with the exclusives on the Titans and the Warriors, where I'm not falling off my chair. As Gaz has done, he's made it all the way through there. You'll obviously hear our Supercoach speculation from a few weeks ago and this show. So check that out on Spotify each and every week. Leave your comments in the YouTube sections below. And until then, we will talk this time in about 7 days' time. Enjoy the footy and take care.
Yeah, the footy.